This is the I'm Giving Notice podcast, episode 11.
This is the I'm Giving Notice podcast, where you get to take control of life's big three and have the career, relationships, and health that you've always dreamed of. Now, get ready to say, I'm giving notice with your host, Mace Haroff.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the I'm Giving Notice podcast. This is Mace Haroff, and today, I got to tell you, I have the honor and the privilege, and I mean those words when I say them, of speaking with my esteemed guest, JB Glossinger. If you've had the good fortune of spending time around JB like I have, you know him as a super friendly, people-loving guy. He's as down-to-earth as they come. But I got to tell you, what this man has accomplished is amazing. JB has a PhD in metaphysics, and he enthusiastically shares what he has learned from his personal transformations and his corporate and personal experiences. He's a busy, internationally known speaker, author, and coach. He's the author of the groundbreaking book, Get Out of Neutral. I have heard him speak many times. He's friggin' awesome. And JB is also one of the top podcasters in the world. He is the creator and the voice behind the Morning Coach podcast. Within a few months of launching his podcast on iTunes, it rose to number one in the self-help category, eventually reaching as high as 25th in the world. JB's podcast has actually been rated higher, this is unbelievable, than those of Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres. He's done over 2,000 episodes of Morning Coach. That's why I'm so humbled. This is my opinion, but the reason JB Glossinger has been so successful is because he transforms people's lives and he's real. JB, I am so thrilled to have you on the show.
Hey, Mace, I'm glad to be here. Always excited. And thank you. That intro was great, man. That was awesome. I need a copy of that. Can you get me that? That's great. Thank you.
I'll send it to you, man, but it's from the heart. It's from the heart. You know,
Please, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, in my own business, many years ago, you gave me a piece of advice. I think it was around 2007, 2008, as I was getting really my medical consulting business, medical sales consulting business was getting underway. And I was thinking about doing a video, and you said, Mace, do a podcast because, with your audience, it needs to be portable. They need to hear it. And I have to tell you, I have gotten more bookings from that podcast than anything else. It was one of the best pieces of advice I have ever received. So thank you for that.
No, that's great. And I think so many of us hear the YouTube and all these other things, but at the end of the day, people are so busy, it's like, just give them something they can take with them that's easy to consume. And I think that's why it works so well. So I'm glad it worked for you. That's awesome.
Well, I hope people are going to be consuming this for the right reasons. And there are a lot of people who are listening who are unhappy in their jobs. They're unhappy with their lives. And when they see the success that someone like you is having, some of them attribute it to luck. So, JB, were you born with a silver spoon in your mouth? I mean, have things always come easy to you?
Oh, it's been just so easy. I got to tell you, it's funny. I got the best coaching ever. I was interviewing Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who many people know. It's very successful. He wrote The Erroneous Zone back in I think it's probably 70s, I think, Mace, and then has built a tremendous business. And I was interviewing him for my show, and at the end of the show, he says, JB, so how's your business doing? Reed Tracy, who's the CEO of Hay House, another very successful individual, had told Wayne about me. And I said, it's going good, but it's been really difficult over the past 9 years. Leaving corporate and trying to get this thing going has been really, it's difficult. Personal development's really hard business. And Wayne said, JB, it hasn't been difficult for me. And it was kind of a slap in the face, but with love. And I recognize the fact that, yes, it wasn't difficult. It really wasn't. It's just been a journey, okay? It hasn't been easy, I'll say that. But it hasn't been difficult. And I think, a good friend of mine, George Shepard, told me the other day that success comes from imperfect action. And I think the one thing that I've done better than most people out there is I've just failed. I mean, I've failed over and over and over and over again. And as Wayne said, it wasn't that it was difficult. It really wasn't hard. It's actually been kind of easy to fail. I've just failed more than anybody else, and that's why I'm successful.
Imperfect action. so many people who would like to get out of their jobs, they have no idea what to do. They dream of having their own career, starting their own business. They don't know where to start, and many of them think they don't have any skills that are transferable to something else. What would you tell them?
You're insane. Okay, you were born great. You have the ability to go out there and be an expert. I mean, my story is great. Who would know me from Adam? I mean, how would I compete with anybody? You know, I wrote a book, and the book failed. It was horrible. I got the copies back. I did the vanity press, spent all my money on it, quit my job, and literally failed so bad. I mean, it was, you know, my wife looked at me like, what are you doing? I mean, I can't believe she stayed with me during that time. But, you know, I had spelling errors in it. It was just a disaster. And the truth of the matter is that there's billions of people in the world today. And sometimes we're too close to ourselves. We don't realize that we have knowledge that other people need. And we have knowledge that people of value will pay for, that will understand that, you know what, this person is bringing value to my life, so I'll give them some value back. It may take you a little time to build that group, but every single person has some value that they can do. And a case in point, as I've grown my business over time, the last 10 years, I've been able to meet a lot of phenomenal people. And I met a woman who literally has made a 6-figure business on selling Smurfs. Smurfs, the little blue toy. She is now the expert in Smurfs. Her entire life is Smurfs, and her entire house is Smurfs. But she loves it, and she's built a huge business around that. And I think sometimes we just think that, you know, we go to traditional school and, you know, like I did my MBA and then PhD, and you think you need that. You think education's the answer. But the truth of the matter is, it's about education. It's about your passion, and then finding that group of people that are willing to give you the value or willing to pay you for the things that you're passionate about. And everybody has passion, so you just got to move forward with that. That's really the secret.
Well, I think the big question is, you were talking about the woman with the Smurfs. So any normal, if I might use that term, and I don't think any of us are really normal, but any normal person would say, how do you monetize a passion about Smurfs? You know, what steps do you take?
Well, I think you've got to first find that passion. Okay, that's the initial thing that you got to do. And once you feel that passion, then you've just got to start doing it. I mean, it's one of those things where I think people get so caught up at, again, trying to follow all the rules when you got to kind of break the rules. You got to kind of, you know, go out there and create your own path.
Let's talk about you. Were you in corporate previously?
Yeah, I actually was in corporate for 15 years. I was in aerospace, and my last job was running an aerospace company, and I actually was doing really good in that position. And I had the dream job. I was actually on the board of directors, but I just hated my life. You know, I would go into work on Monday and work till Friday, 60, 70 hours, or travel around the world, which sounds so glamorous. But then on the weekends, from Friday to Sunday, I'd self-medicate because I hated my life so much. So I was there. I mean, I hated my job, yes. And in order to break free, I had to really, really find myself, which I did. And then I had to get out there and just start talking to people about my story, my dream, the things I wanted to do. And I got to tell you, when you initially do that, that's when it's the hardest, because everybody's telling you. My best friend said, why would you ever want to leave your career? Are you stupid? You know, and people around me, even the people that love me the most, said, you got to be crazy. You can't go write a book and help people. And so you've got to believe more than anybody and just get out there and tell your story, you know, talk about your passion. And I know it's one of those things that says, you know, do what you love and the money will follow. And until you start having that happen in your life, you're like, that's a bunch of BS. It's not going to happen for me. There's just no way that works. But it's amazing how once you start doing it and things start to work, that you go, gosh, why didn't I start that years ago? What was I thinking, you know? And I know there's a million ways to make $1 million. So it's like, give me the direction, right? People are saying, give me the direction. Well, everybody's direction's different. You just got to get started. You know, the old thing, you know, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. That's the truth. So you've got to step out, get beat up, step out, get beat up, step out, get beat up. That's the way it works. And I'll be just blunt. Most people aren't willing to take that type of abuse or don't want to feel that against their ego when they get started. And that's something you have to get over. You've got to get over that not everything's going to be successful, not everything's going to work. I remember when I put out my book and I went to a bookstore here in South Florida, and I'm down here in South Florida, Mason. I went there and, I was all excited and I had all my books and I took them all in, like 300 books, and put them up on the shelf nice and neat, and they had posters everywhere. JB's going to be here. And literally I went there and got in the lectern and sat behind that lectern and got ready to present. And there was one person in the store and he came and sat down. And I started to tell my story. I was so excited. And when 10 minutes into my 30-minute presentation of my book, he got up and started to look at other books. And I sat there and I didn't stop. I gave the best damn presentation I've ever given to a group of empty chairs. And at the end, I picked up my books. I took everything with me. I left 10 there on consignment, and I did the walk of shame to my car. I cried and drove home in tears. But it's just part of it, I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared. I was frustrated, and everything was crashing around me. I had no money. I had left my job. But the truth of the matter, that was what made me. That's what got me over the hump. And I was with Penn and Teller, and Penn spoke at the National Speakers Association, and I spoke at a couple months ago, and I had the opportunity to go have lunch with Penn. And I asked Penn, and we were talking a little bit, and this question came up in his session, and then I asked him to elaborate a little bit more. What would you have done differently? And he said, JB, when me and Penn and Teller, when we got together, we were so driven, we were so focused on becoming great. But those times when we had to do street magic in front of one person, in front of 3 people, he goes, I was so driven, I don't remember those times. I don't remember those feelings. And I wish I would have remembered those feelings. I wish I remembered them now because they were so sacred to me. But I really can't remember. We were so driven. Well, I remember those failures. I remember those times. And I get exactly what Penn is saying, that you've got to enjoy those times, even though it hurts so bad. You've got to enjoy getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that you would never think you were going to do, and failing at it, but realizing that that's the next step to you breaking away from your job or breaking away into your dreams. And just so many people I see fail because they're not willing to do that. And it's that's the beauty of the whole journey.
A lot of people, when they're experiencing those obstacles, the question comes, well, how many obstacles should I experience before I give up? In other words, if you hit one, you say, okay, that was just one example where it didn't work. And then you try 2. By the time you're up to maybe 40 or 50, is there a point where you say, well, maybe I need to change something?
If it's your passion, you never give up. If you're doing it for the money, you need to give up. And I think that's the issue that I see. I see most people do things for money. And they're just doing it. I look at the network marketing industry. Nothing against them. I speak a lot at their conventions and a lot of people, a lot of the different areas. And we have a mutual friend in Randy Gage who's been very successful in that industry. Well, the reason Randy is so successful in that industry is he loves that industry. He wants to be a diamond. The reason that 90% of the other people that aren't successful in that industry is because they're there for the money. They don't want to sell vitamins. They don't want to sell whatever it is that they're selling. They just see these circles on a board and say, oh my gosh, I can make all this money. Well, you're destined to fail because the money's not going to come because you're not passionate about the actual business itself. So if you love it, then you'll never give up on it. But if you're doing it because you saw JB do a podcast and you say, okay, I want to do a podcast to make millions of dollars because it's the way you do it. Or you see somebody write a book, and just like I did, because this is exactly what I did. I did everything else I thought everybody else you were supposed to do because they did it and they were successful. Well, the truth of the matter is I had to find what was important to me and then go after it. And once I got over myself, once I got through paying $5,000 for an image consultant that gave me this image that I was supposed to look like, and then I wrote the book that I was supposed to write and did all these things that I was supposed to do, and I really got authentic and became myself and got passionate about what I do, that's when the success came. And believe me, I probably had 40, 50 I failed today. I'm still failing.
Well, I hope this isn't one of your failures, being on my show, JB. I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not one of my failures. But we fail all the time. It's just I'm able to fail better because I got a staff and a team now. And when we fail, it's a little bit more invisible, and I just kind of move on from it. But back in the day, it was just me, and So we fail all the time. We have products we put out. We do things that we try. We have websites that we build. They don't work. And then we have victories. It's like venture capitalists. Venture capitalists, they're looking to invest in 10 companies, have 7 of them fail, and 3 of them really hit. We quit after the first time when we try to do something, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. We don't even get to 7. And you're in sales, you know that most sales are made after the 7th meeting, right?
Sure.
It's just a kind of a number that's out there, but you've got to get through those areas. And there's no better time to be alive than now to do these type of businesses, whatever it is, with Twitter and Facebook. You can reach people. But you can't give up. You can't be spammy. You can't do it for the money. You got to do it for the love of what you're doing, and you'll meet success.
So your passion enabled you to push past the failures that you had early on. When did you know you were onto something, that you were following the right track, that this is starting to work?
Well, I still don't know if I'm on the right track, to be honest with you. We always want more, right? We always want to get bigger and better. But the day one, I knew I was onto something, even through the failures. It was. I knew that I had to push through. It was my dream, and as much as those first, and you knew, Mace, you knew me back in those days. It wasn't working. Nothing was working. Nobody would hire me to speak. Nobody would buy my book. Nobody visited my website. Most of the people that did were critics telling me how I did it wrong and how bad I sucked. It was just so depressing. And in those days, I was in my shell. I didn't come out a lot. I just did what I did and tried to get through it. And I guess the time that it really took effect was when people started to thank me and appreciate me. And all of a sudden, my belief grew because I'm like, wow, I believed in this, but now people are getting real results. And that's when it really the switch really flipped. And now we're in 100+ countries. We changed thousands of lives. And when you get that working, your belief is really solidified. But the key thing is having that belief when it's just you're at the bottom of the barrel and nobody believes in you and everybody's looking at you like you're insane. What are you doing? Go back to your career. Go get the paycheck.
So you knew it was working when you realized that you changed just one life. That's all it took. And it also inspired you to keep going.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, I always say don't do it for the money, do it for the passion. But as soon as you make $1, right? If you make $1, you can make $1 million. So that's the key. If you're not making any money, if that's your objective, you're trying to break free and you're trying to, you got your job. I call it intelligent life design, right? You have your job and at night you're trying to break free and you're not making any money at it and you find that maybe you're not so passionate at it. You got to kind of step back and see what you're doing. But if you're really passionate about it, you're excited about it, it gives you energy. You come home from work at night and you still have energy to work on it. And you sit down and you start doing it. And then all of a sudden you make $1. You make $2. Even if you sell it on eBay, I don't care. You can make millions. Okay? It just takes that first $1. It takes that first person who believes in you, gives you that value. Says, wow, this is pretty good stuff. And all of a sudden, things start to work for you.
Wow, amazing. I'm so glad we had this conversation because so many people come into a business or they have an idea and we see it all the time in the speaker world. People want to be the next Tony Robbins. They want to be the next J.B. Glossinger. And then about 6 months into it, they say, wow, this isn't working. I guess I really need to go back and get another job. It's that ability to believe in yourself and persevere. How can people learn to believe in themselves and in their passions and ideas and move forward with it?
It's a challenge. I'm going to be blunt. It's a challenge when you're surrounded by negatives and things aren't working. And that's why you just got to borrow belief of other people. That's when you get a coach or a mentor, even if you can't afford it, right? You don't have any money, you kind of work in your job, you're trying to get through and you don't have a lot of extra money. Then you follow me on Facebook, you follow me on Twitter and borrow my belief. Find authentic people. And I think, Mace, that's an issue. We don't have a lot of authentic people out there, but find authentic people and follow them and borrow their belief. That's really what you need to do. I looked at Richard Branson. I looked at Randy Gage, a friend of ours. I looked at people that I really admired, and I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm just a human being just like they are. And borrow that belief in those times and get a little frustrated. Get a little fire in your belly. I'm gonna do this. So borrow belief when you don't have it. And that doesn't mean you have to hire a coach, which I recommend. I recommend joining a mastermind. Those things have changed my life. But if you can't afford it, then you got to start doing something. Borrow the belief from books, read biographies. I got to tell you, that's one of the biggest things that's really helped me. I read rock musicians' biographies. You want to read people that have been through hell, learn about musicians and see what they did to make their bands great. There's very few bands that just woke up and made great music. Very few. There's very few companies that you just wake up and it just works. I mean, you just don't wake up at the top of Mount Everest and say, I was wandering around and here I'm at the top of Mount Everest,
Those would have to be some mighty amazing drugs that those rock musicians were on to find themselves on top of Mount Everest all of a sudden.
Exactly. So borrow the belief is what I would say. If you're down, read biographies of people that have become successful. It doesn't even have to be your field. And you'll find that most people have had the same challenges. Just we tend to ignore those once you get to the top of the hill.
If there was one biography you would tell someone to go out and read right now, pick one.
One biography. God, there's so many. I'm going to tell you, it's funny. I read the band stuff, so like the Motley Crue stuff for me was really impactful. I mean, all the drugs those guys did and the way they
did
got
you say
through
Motley Crue?
Motley Crue was a big one for me. I mean, I honestly I would suggest just start grabbing biographies and start reading them and look for things. I mean, Abraham Lincoln. I mean, read an autobiography about Abraham Lincoln. You talk about somebody that failed. I mean, he failed more. I think he failed more than me, right? And I failed a lot.
It's because you weren't around to inspire him. If you would have had your podcast, he might have been, emperor of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he kind of became that. I think he did okay anyway. So, he failed over and over again. But it's just, you just got to relate. It's the relation that you get in your mind. Like, wow, somebody else has been here. And that's what gets you through it.
Let's talk about health. JB, when people look at you, you look like one of those healthy, fit people. You've got the twinkle in your eye. Did you always pay attention to your health?
No. In fact, it's funny. In sometimes my presentations, I show a picture of me at my first Blog World when I was just starting to get things going. And I literally weighed probably about 120 pounds, and I looked like a heroin addict. I went the opposite way. Instead of gaining weight, I lost weight. And it got really bad. And what helped me was I trained with some Israeli special forces. I went hardcore 3 times a day and just got into this really intense exercise program. And it really changed my life.
Well, let's go back. What made you decide to tap into those people? I mean, what was the awakening to say, hey, I need to do something about my health?
Well, I just didn't have the energy, and I was negative. And if you don't take care of yourself, you don't have the energy. Really, you don't to do what you need to do. I mean, you've got to have posture and presence in whatever you do. You got to be a leader, right? You can sit behind the computer. You can only sit behind the computer so much. And I think it's a direct correlation. Remember, I'm a metaphysical guy. I believe that when you take care of yourself, you're proving to the universe or God, whatever you believe in, that you have value. And when you don't take care of yourself, what does that really say? And that was an awakening for me. It was a realization that, wow, I don't even value myself. So how the hell is money going to come into my life? How is anybody else going to value me if I don't value myself? And so that was a huge transition for me into making more money. I was already doing okay, but that's what's really got me moving forward was to say, you know what? There's a direct correlation between health and wealth, in the way that you feel because you're putting out that energy.
You said you were feeling negative. Was that a sign? Do you always pay attention to that? When you're having negative feelings, it's obviously telling you something is wrong. What do you do when you're experiencing negative feelings? Is there a process you go through? What's the self-talk you use?
Yeah, I'm. My thing is right now I'm always trying to find peace. I'm being very spiritual, and I believe that's the foundation of everything. I'm a big Course in Miracles fan, and I can choose peace instead of this. I think protecting your kingdom from the negative and protecting your kingdom. You can't be myopic. You just can't be. Oh, I'm positive all the time. Stuart Smalley stuff. That's just a bunch of BS. But you gotta protect your kingdom. I'm a golfer, and golf has become a big part of my life the last couple of years. I try to golf, 4 or 5 times a week. It's pretty ridiculous, but it's a great way to look at life. If you stand over the ball and you're negative, and you have negative swing thoughts, that's why most people hit into the water. That's why most people have trouble with the game because they just are thinking about the mechanics. They're thinking about the swing instead of swinging. And in golf, you have to swing. And in life, you have to swing. And so when you're thinking about the mechanics and you're getting up to speak, or when you're writing your book and you're thinking about the mechanics and you're just not letting it flow, it's really hard to be successful. So for me, it's always being aware. I wear 2 rubber bands. They're actually morningcoach.com rubber bands that say always positive. And when I start to think negative, I snap that rubber band because it doesn't any good to serve you. Drama doesn't serve you. Worry doesn't serve you. What serves you is action, taking and deliberate practice. Those 2 things serve you. And what I mean by that is take action when you have an issue, don't let it fester, and then deliberate practice. 1% a day, focus on getting better every day. That Kaizen Japanese principle, right, from Deming years ago. And that's what makes the big difference, And if you're going to sit there and you're going to bitch and moan and cry and whimper, you're just never going to get anywhere. Life's too short for that.
Let me ask you about this. You've got a crazy busy schedule, and you even have golf in there. If you're golfing 5 times a week, you're just busy playing golf. So how do you balance the busy schedule with your personal life, and specifically the relationship that you have with your beautiful wife and others? How do you make the relationships work when you're as busy as you are?
I don't believe in balance. I believe in jazz. Okay,
I'm a jazz guy. Tell me about it, man. I want to hear about the jazz.
Yeah, jazz is what it's about. I'm a jazz guy. I live my life with jazz. Yeah, it's all about the jazz. So you already get it, Mace. You're a jazz person. So with jazz, you know what it's like. Somebody jumps up there, the trombone goes, and it just takes off, right? And we're just in the moment and just rocking. You can feel that jazz going. You feel it. Now all of a sudden it kind of fades. You can feel the energy changing. So what does a jazz band do? It flips to something else, right? That's what jazz is. It keeps you moving. It doesn't slow down. It's in the flow. And so in life, there's times that you got to step back and you got to spend time with the wife. There's times that you got to be on the golf course. There's times that you got to work 80 hours. I mean, right now I've got a deadline on a book for Hay House, so I'm cranking through that. And you got to have some systems in place. So you need a little jazz with some systems. So the band is the systems, right? You need the jazz. You need the band. Without the instruments, it doesn't work. But then you got to go with the flow. So once you get the instruments going, it's going. So my bass, my music is my mornings. I wake up in the morning, I do 2 podcasts, and I write 2,000 words. Then I have a 10 a.m. meeting with my team, and I'm done for the day. Really, that's my jazz. And normally I'm done about 9:30. So I'm up at 6:30. I come down, I drink a lemon water with chai seeds, and then, boom, do the podcast. That's where my energy is. 2 podcasts, and then I write. Sometimes in between there, I'll run 5 miles. Okay, depending on what my workout plan is for the day. But literally by 10:30, I'm done. I'm done with the majority of the work that I need to do. Then the rest of the day is just jazz. And normally it's on the golf course, and then I come home and do whatever. But it's important we get the foundation set with the band and then just live with jazz. Sometimes with your family, 60 weeks. Sometimes you're putting 100 hours in work. It just flows. That's the way life is.
What makes your relationship with your wife work?
Communication. I mean, that's at the end of the day, communication and give and take. You've got to be able to communicate. I'm very fortunate. My wife's Colombian, and when we met, I didn't speak Spanish. She didn't speak English. And so we really had to learn on communication. I mean, we have our ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's all about communication. You've got to be able to understand, how are you feeling? What do you need? Do you need more time with me? Do you need more time away? What is going to make your life better?
So no matter how busy your schedule is, she knows what's going on in your life, you know what's going on in hers, and you're able to make it work.
Yes. And also separation. The other big thing is that when I hate codependency. It's one of the things I'm against more than anything. When 2 people have to be together, when Tom Cruise said, "You complete me," that's a bunch of BS. You never want anybody to complete you.
It's a great movie line, though.
Yeah, it's a great movie line, total BS for relationship advice. That's why everybody gets divorced. You complete me. Yeah, right. We'll wait 5 years and see if they're still completing me, right? The truth of the matter is you need 2 complete people together that have their own interests. They have their own hobbies. They do what they want. My wife's a climber. She has her own business. She does her things. I give her space. She's totally independent. I have my things. I have my golf. I have my friends. I have my writing. I'm independent. When 2 independent people come together, it creates a bond. When you have codependency where that circle is 2 halves, it's great in theory, but it's horrible in truth because it just hardly ever works.
So it's really about each person being complete on his own and her own that allows the relationship to work.
Yeah, each person being a little selfish. As bad as that sounds, each person needs to be selfish. They need to be happy. They need to have their own time. If they're too needy, and I mean selfish in their own self-love and their things, if they're too needy and selfish in the sense that I need your time, I need you with me, I need you around me all the time, it never works. That's the breakdown of the relationship. But if they're selfish and both people are happy doing the things they love to do, going after their goals, then things work. And then you can have some mutual things together. But for most people, I'd say most relationships aren't that way. They're two, people that have joined together and they're trying to, keep each other happy. And they're two separate people with different ideas and different thoughts, and it just causes fracture.
So many people, when they dream about success, they think that if and when they ever have it, they're going to stop what they're doing and go out and enjoy life. It'll just become a big vacation. You sound like you're never going to stop. You've had tremendous success, but you sound more driven than ever. What keeps you going?
Yeah, well, it's very simple, Mace. 5,000 people, or 5,000, thousands. Let me not put a number on it. Thousands of people went to bed last night and didn't wake up. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And I did, and you did. So make something about the damn day. I mean, it's that simple. One day you're going to go to bed. You could be in a car and wherever. You might be in an airplane, falls out of the sky, right? Something's going to happen and you're not going to be here again. And I think too many people are just in this dream state and they don't recognize how great the gift of life is. Even with the BS that goes on, people pass away, you lose family members, you lose animals. My dog that just killed me, my 17-year-old German Shepherd. Yeah, we're going to have down times. It's not being positive all the time. That's impossible. But the truth of the matter is that you're not going to be here one day. So the sooner you realize that, and that's Steve Jobs, death is a great motivator. It's probably the best motivator, right? As soon as you realize that, you're going to be driven. And if that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will. And I think just too many people think tomorrow is going to come, and they're living in tomorrow. They think tomorrow, where is everything going to happen? And the truth of the matter is we don't know if tomorrow's even going to be here.
I want to make sure that everyone leaves this session, and this has been an amazing session with you, JB. You have the unique gift to give a lot of content and really touch people in a very, very short period of time. And you do this every day with your podcast. That's what's really cool with the Morning Coach podcast. I want to make sure everybody leaves this session with an action step about one of life's big three, or all of life's big three: their career, their relationships, and their health. If someone's really dissatisfied in any one of those areas, what should they do today, right now, to start that transformation?
Believe that they can make it and take action. That's it. If it's health, go get a trainer or go with your healthcare professional or just start walking. If it's relationships, then change the relationship. There's nothing that says you can't start all over today. If it's a career, start today. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about life, Mace. I mean, if you really think about it, when you go to bed, you're kind of dying, right? It's over. And then you wake up and it's a brand new day. When you open that door to your house or your apartment and you're leaving, you don't know what day is going to change everything. And that's the way you have to think. If you got problems with health, relationships, and your job, well, then wake up tomorrow and start a whole new life. And I just think that's the key. And love your life and start to write your story. Stop letting other people write your story. It's your book. Make it a great one, okay? And let me say this. It doesn't matter if you invent a paperclip or you cure cancer. They're all great. You're already great. You're alive. And so don't think you have to do something that's going to change the world to be this great person. At the end of the day, you're already great. And sometimes it's a smile that creates a chain of events that can make a difference in the world. And that's what we need. We need you to wake up and be the best that you can possibly be and have fun doing it. Write this story and make it great. And the change starts immediate. It doesn't start in your head thinking, next week I'm going to start the exercise regime. Next week I'm going to call my mom and make the relationship better. Next week I'm going to go on the job hunt. No, it starts right now, this moment. That's the key.
Where can people get more information about JB Glossinger?
A couple places, Macy. Obviously, morningcoach.com is my big thing. And then the other thing is at my private website, glossinger.com. We have a lot of great people over there. Have a lot of fun with it. So my last name is Glossinger. You can find me all over the internet. But glossinger.com is a good place. And then morningcoach.com is a good place.
Excellent. And JB, can you just leave us with one of your favorite quotes, a quote that you often share with your audiences?
Yeah, it's this. Thoughts are things, right? Very simple. Thoughts are things. We know that. A thought is a thing. But beliefs make them so. If you don't have the belief, the thought is not going to work. And action solidify that belief. So thoughts are things, belief makes them so, and action solidify that belief. So it takes action to get the belief that makes that thought turn into the reality in life.
JB, you have an amazing ability to over-deliver in 30 minutes.
Thanks, Mace. I'm glad I'm here. It's awesome. A lot of fun.
No, but I really want to thank you for being with us here this week on the I'm Giving Notice podcast. And I'm going to post the show notes, the links to your websites and your book, Get Out in Neutral. And JB, from the bottom of my heart, man, you've been an awesome friend over the years. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom with my audience today.
Thank you, Mace. Let's go make the world a little bit better place. That's all we can do.
All right, buddy. And for everybody that I'm Giving Notice, this is Mace Haroff. I hope you've been listening to JB Glossinger, and I hope you do what he says, because trust me, it will change your life. This is Mace Haroff. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.
This has been the I'm Giving Notice podcast with Mace Haroff. For show notes and more information about how you can take control of life's big three, please visit www.imgivingnotice.com.